This is Vietnam's Renovation Generation.
Sonic portraits of young minds reshaping the country's future.
Policy researcher and columnist Khắc Giang Nguyễn believes there is a need to give civil society a voice and that this can happen without major political reform. We live in a post-ideological world in which there is no one-size-fits-all answer for complex situations. Small victories need to be acknowledged, like seeing the positive changes to the energy in downtown Hanoi, achieved by turning the busy area around Hoàn Kiếm Lake into a pedestrian zone on evenings and weekends. It may not be enough, but it's certainly something.
It's very relaxed.
Nice. So this is the first time that you've seen a development like this?
Yeah. In Hanoi, it's total breakthrough because this area is very big.
There are no motorbikes, just street musicians, skateboarders, and young families taking their kids out for a day. For our 18th episode, we took a walk with Giang around the lake.
Okay, my name is Nguyễn Khắc Giang. I'm 28. I don't disagree with other, with activists. Really strong activists that oppose to the government, opposed to the way that the government is controlling the society. But I think that in the big society, you have the people at the periphery, the people who actually try to break it, and then you have the middleman, the people at the middle who want to be activists, but actually they approach a way that could, accommodate the government and the people in a milder way.
Is that where you are?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's more effective to work that way.
The new pedestrian zone proved to be louder and livelier than we had anticipated, and we quickly retreated to a cafe at the Hotel de l'Opera on Changtin Street to continue our conversation.
Let's go find a coffee somewhere.
Yeah, sure.
Drink. Yeah, we'll just have, that is a big menu. Can we just have some coffee?
Giang was born to a mother who worked for a state-owned candy factory and a father who was a builder. And he was raised in Nghệ An, most famous for being Ho Chi Minh's place of birth.
Possibly, I wouldn't be born if the Mới didn't happen.
You said you wouldn't be born if
Yeah.
Why?
Because the Mới happened in 1986, for example. I was born in 1988. So if there would, not be, such a good change like that in the society, maybe my father and my mother didn't meet each other.
And there are other things in Giang's life that wouldn't have been possible pre-Đổi Mới. He got his master's degree in journalism, media and globalization in the UK and Denmark, and has made a name for himself writing about a broad range of issues. His day job is at the Vietnam Institute for Economic and Policy Research.
The university is actually the biggest state-owned university in Vietnam. On paper, I work for the government, but my institute is a kind of independent, quasi-independent institute within the university. So it means they make a room for us to work, but they don't pay the salary. So we have to go out and do research projects with the government or with the international agencies or with international NGOs, stuff like that.
Researching policy, writing about political issues, being opinionated about what changes Vietnam needs. Is Giang a politician in the making?
Anything can happen in the future, but right now I think I'm not really suitable for a political career. Possibly I want to be a political advisor, but not really to be a politician.
Why don't you think you're suitable for a political?
Because there are several reasons. For the personal reason, I think that my personality is a bit low-key, not really extrovert, not really outspoken. Not too communicative, to the public life. Second reason, in Vietnam, if you want to be a politician, you need to have really strong network. If I don't have really, strong connection, then it's very hard for me to start from the scratch and get into higher, decision-making mechanism of the state to make some kind of change.
So how can the individual make a change?
It depends on the capacity of different people in the society to decide which kind of way you want to work for the the greater good of the society. Some people are good at economics, some people are good at politics, some people that good at playing music.
But when it comes to creativity and the arts, something is lacking in Vietnam.
Vietnamese has long forgotten that arts or literatures can have a huge impact in their life. Before, we only think about economics and business. There are something that can change your life. Maybe because of that approach, for the past 30 years, we neglected the more personal, the more emotional side of the Vietnamese people.
And that, he believes, means something is amiss.
Money can change you from the appearance, the way you wear, the way you think about something. But when you change your emotion, change your personality inside, it would have long-lasting effect.
Changes in personal taste and emotion is something he is well familiar with.
Comrades and friends, our entire people from north to south, closely united.
As many other young Nghệ-Anese, the people from Nghệ An, I also admire Ho Chi Minh for when I was quite young, until I went to university or so. So when I get a little bit more mature and understand a little bit more politics, and then I stopped really idolizing anybody.
Keeping critical distance is key.
It's better to not idolize any kind of people or any kind of policies. But when you idolize the person himself, and then you will, make excuse of the mistake that he or she will, possibly make. But when you analyze at their policies or their speeches or at their actions, then it's better to know that which is good or which is bad, and then you can learn from it.
When did he start thinking differently?
So it also coincides with the time when I graduate from my university. So at the time it's kind of like very contradictory feeling about what you learn from university and what actually happened outside. Some people who have connection get very good good place to work. Some very nice, very bright young people from my class and from my generation. They're excellent, but because they don't have any kind of connection, they can't get into some of the workplace that they really want to.
It took quite a lot of cobbling together information he hadn't encountered through official channels for Giang to get a full picture of the situation, made possible by the abundance of online sources.
We watch it on the internet. That's that's a good thing about globalization and internet. That I think most of the people now in Vietnam, young people, they don't watch television, but they watch YouTube, they watch internet, they use Pirate Bay,
What do you think about all this illegal stuff that people download?
And of course, it's morally wrong to steal from other people, like intellectual property. But I would think that it's kind of like a necessity evil to do, because within the case of Vietnam.
The problem with the content produced in Vietnam, he says, is that there is not enough diversity of information and history, especially when it comes to the long period of war.
In Vietnam, we only have one side of history. So it's a victor's narrative. The Communist Party, they take the war into war and they write the history according to their ideology. So it makes less diverse literature, books and arts and films for the people to actually look into this specific period of history in Vietnamese history.
So what does this result in?
80 or 90% is a lack of eagerness or lack of the willingness to actually look at the past. I don't blame it for the young generation, but they gradually they get a little bit bored of learning history, and they don't really want to look into that. They say, okay, that's own victory, own glory, and that's it. There's nothing else in the world. We lost like 2 million men, young blind men, and we won the war. We won against the biggest country in the world, and that's it.
Giang has some ideas about how this could improve for future generations.
So if you want as a young generation to be more aware of what is happening in the world, or what happened in the past, or what going to be happening in the future, the state should give more freedom for the society to do what is the best capacity is to give the public what they want to hear, what they want to listen. For example, the state cannot sponsor a writer to write a book about the history of Vietnam and then make other people interested in it.
Is he ever worried that voicing his opinion in this way and publishing it on his blog could get him in trouble?
And I think it's not really too dangerous to be as outspoken as I am, because I think I'm quite moderate.
That is to say that though Giang is calling for more freedom of expression and the creation of a functioning dialogue between the civil society and the state, he doesn't think this needs to mean that the whole system be changed.
Okay, if you want to overthrow the regime, then what's next? Okay, you want to have democracy. Well, probably it could be like Duterte, like Philippines, and it doesn't make sense for us to have that kind of chaotic society. So the thing, in my opinion, I want to take an de-ideologized approach. I don't want to get into a trap that our other ancestors, our fathers took, that we focus too much on ideology.
He thinks there is another way.
I don't think it's important to define which countries or which system is more or less democratic than other, but to make it a better place by implementing the policies that are benefiting the people. I want to take a more pragmatic approach, like the way that Singapore has been doing. That if you want to make a better place, better country, a better society, you better change it, step by step. Okay, this policy is bad, and you have to voice out your concerns. You have to use your critical thinking to make it better policy, not to overthrow anything else.
His musing that democracy may not be the only workable future is very much in line with thoughts of his current reading material, which is
The Origin of Political Order by Francis Fukuyama.
A scholar Giang admires for his ability to admit he was wrong.
When he wrote The End of History in 1989, he decided that the ideological war ended with the victory for the liberalism. But after 20 years, he kept reverse his kind of idea, and he knows that the war is more complicated. So that's what I think is. I think that he's a very, very great intellectual because of that, because he can face the fact that he possibly wrong in the past, but he's kind of brave enough to voice about that and to dig in more of the issues that he thinks that is important.
Giang believes he's not the only one thinking along the lines of post-ideology.
Because I have the feeling that because we were born during the time that are a little bit mixed up everything. Capitalism, communism, globalization, internet, everything is happening. I think that the next generation is really more departing from what we are now, that they don't have no ideology at all.
And that makes him cautiously hopeful.
So I think that for the next generation, it's going to be a better, hopefully a better Vietnamese society for us to live in. But I think it's dependent on what we are now, on what the current generation is doing. Because if we can't do anything to improve our life, to protect our environment, to protect our forests, and to demand for more, positive changes from the regime, then the next generation could be worse off. You never know, because the future is uncertain.
This has been The Renovation Generation. Follow us on SoundCloud or subscribe to The Renovation Generation on iTunes, Stitcher or Mixcloud to never miss an episode.
Cloud. SoundCloud.
It is produced by Eliza Lomas and Fabiola Bukele. Our production assistants are Chang Ngiem and Chang Ngo. Jack Smith is our photographer.
The narration is done by me, Maya Do.
An And of Other Things production.
For episode 19, we'll finally catch up with our long-held lady crush, Suboi, in her native Ho Chi Minh City, to talk to the fierce rapper about being a female role model, reading Thich Nhat Hanh, and the lessons learned from having your trust abused.